Good afternoon, folks. This is Professor Burnett. We're going to be covering lab number 4 today, formatting a CAD template from scratch. The goal with a template is to ensure that every time you start a new drawing, you already have all your settings built in, your layers, the layer setups, names, colors, the annotation styles, so text, dimensions, multi-leaders, and units. Companies often do this so that all of the employees start with the same set of standards, and it just simplifies things, keeps everybody working on the same page. So the first thing you're going to do is hit File, New, and you're going to open a blank CAD drawing. And we're going to rename that. So File, Save As. I'm going to call this CAD Template and save. I'm going to take my grid off. I have my user interface set up that we did earlier on an earlier lab document. And that would have been where we saved our own custom workspace. Refer back to user interface lab document for those steps. So to begin, we're going to cover layers. And I'm not going to go into deep detail on layers. I'm just going to breeze over it, and then we'll talk about that more in the future. Today we're just worried about setting up and getting this template underway. Briefly, layers are used. A good example might be if I'm drawing a house plan. I would want a walls layer, interior wall layer, window layer, door layer, plumbing, electrical, and so on. But for today, I'm just going to show you how to create the layers. We'll start with a very, very basic set of layers. So I have my layer properties tool on my home tab. I'm on the home tab here, and I'm on the layer properties tool. Now, to make a new layer, we can do it several ways. The easiest is to use this tool right here, the new layer button. I'm going to click that, and it's going to ask for a name. So on our handout, just below figure 4.2, you'll see some layer names, layer colors, and line type options. I'm going to type object. I'm going to select the color, the little box that has the color next to it. I'm going to go with green. Now for my classes, we stay with 1 through 8. And that has to do with our pen weight settings that we cover in the page setup manager under the plotting in CAD lab document. So I'm going with color number green, number 3 green. Make another layer, call that dims. Dims is short for dimensions. We're going to make that red, number 1. We're going to make another layer called text. Change that to white. And we're going to make one more layer called hidden. We will make that magenta number 6. Now, this is a very basic set of layers. I've seen drawings with 1,000 layers in them. They can become very complicated, and a lot of tools that we can use to make it easier to handle. But for today, we're just trying to learn how to create them. Now, in this case, we have one called hidden, and what that's going to be for is when we're using hidden lines in our drawings. So if you go under your line weight option and click on the line type option where it says continuous. And you're going to see there's only one line type in there, so we need to load. Scroll down to the word hidden. We want the first hidden. Hit OK. Select hidden. Hit OK again. So now everything that we draw on this line, this layer will be a magenta with a hidden line type, which is dashes. Okay, so that's a very, very generic cover of how to set up layers. I'm going to close that. Now I'm on figure 4.3, formatting drawing units. And again, there's lots of ways we can start this command. I'm going to just type in the word units. And because my dynamic input, which is which is on. Make sure you have your DYN on. So that's this tool right here. And because that's on, I'm going to type units, and it pops right up in my screen. If I didn't have that, I could type that down in my command line, and that brings up my units tool. I could also go to format units. So as you use CAD more and more, you'll see there's lots and lots of ways to do to do the same tool, to use the same tool. And in this case, I'm going to set this up in decimal format. So it's already on that. If I was doing a drawing that needed feet and inches, I'd set it to architectural, but we're just going to set this to decimal. And for the precision, I'm going to set it to 0.00. And that's all we need to do for this one today. I'm going to hit OK for the units. All right, scrolling down on my sheet, figure 4.5 on formatting text styles. You'll see on the handout that I give examples of how we come up with these numbers. For today, I will just plug them in, and when we come back to some more labs about formatting in CAD, we'll cover these things more in detail, but you do have the examples on your worksheet, on your lab handout. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go to Format or Annotate. Let's go to the Annotate tab, and we have three things we're going to work on: multi-line text or text formatting, dimension formatting, and multileaders. So I'm going to start the very lower right-hand corner of this panel, the Annotate panel of text panel. There's a small arrow. When you click that, it's going to open up your options for inputting new text style. So I'm on the Arial font style. I'm going to hit New, and the first one is going to be called 24 scale. Sorry, 24 Arial. And what that tells us, it's 24 is the scale factor, something we have not covered yet, but for now, just plug that in. And Arial tells me the font style. So there is some meaning to this name. Hit OK. And we've determined on our handout that the height of the text for this scale factor is 3. And OK, I'm going to hit New to create another one. That was going to be 48. Arial. OK. And this text height on this one will be 6. Apply. New. Next one. 96. Arial. Text height on this will be 12. Okay. And then one more called full scale. I think it's going to let me put a space in there. Full scale Arial. And that one will be 0.125. Okay. So we have 24 Arial, 48 Arial, 96, and full scale. When we do talk more about scale factors, this number you'll understand that this represents ½ inch equals a foot, quarter inch equals a foot, eighth inch equals a foot, and 1 inch equals 1 inch. So I'm going to close that. Okay, on page 5, we're going to go over setting up the dimension style. There's a lot of steps to this. I wouldn't expect you to memorize all this. In my classes, I usually tell my students we're going to just go over all this. We're going to plug in the numbers. Don't try to understand it all at once. This is something we cover all through my class all semester. And as long as you have your handouts, all you got to know is where to find the information on the handouts. So if it feels like I'm going over a lot very quickly, um, just try to remember, don't overthink it. Just plug in the information for now, and as we go further and further into these lab documents, this stuff will start to be easier to understand. So on the Word document handout, I'm on page 5, and we're at formatting dimension style. And we're going to do that with that little tool right there. Excuse me. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start with a new name. Don't use annotative. That is a kind of a newer way of doing some of this stuff. I find it's much better to learn the way I'm showing you first and then move on to annotative after you understand all the formatting tools that we're going to discuss throughout these labs. So I'm going to be set to standard and hit new. And let's start out calling this one 24 underscore scale. That will be the style name. I'm going to hit continue. And again, there's just lots of stuff here. It's kind of overwhelming, but we're just going to select a few things to modify here. The first thing will be on our colors. I want my colors to say by layer and by layer for these two, for my dimension line color and my extension line color. The color you see here doesn't necessarily have to be white. It just needs to say by layer. What that's telling me is I'm currently on a layer that is white, but it doesn't matter. Just make sure it says by layer and by layer. Okay, we're going to go to the next tab, symbols and arrows. All we need to change here is our arrow size, 0.125, which is the same as an 1/8 inch. A pretty standard size for arrows and text is going to be 0.125. We always make the symbols and the arrows the same height. So my text height on the next tab over will be 0.125. Now there's one other thing I want to change on this tab, and that's going to be my text color. Now when I open this, I want to make sure I select white. What that means is no matter what layer I'm on and what color, the text will always come out white in my drawing. So we have white, 0.125. My fit tab, under the overall scale number, we're going to put in that scale factor, which is the same as my name up here, 24. Then the last setting we're going to do is the primary units. In this drawing, for our template, we're just going to go ahead and keep it at the decimal style. I'm sorry, I think we're going to use the architectural. So let's go with architectural. And that way it'll match up with the lab document. What that basically is telling us, when I put a dimension in the drawing, is it going to come up with feet and inches, or is it going to come up in a decimal format? Architectural and decimal are the two most commonly used ones. So for this, I'm going to set it to architectural. I'll keep my precision at a 16th. So a review. On my lines tab, my color for my dimension lines is set to by layer. My extension line color is by layer. Again, don't worry what color you see there as long as it says by layer. My symbols and arrows tab, my arrow size is 0.125. Text tab, text height is 0.125. And we make sure that the text color is set to white. My fit tab is going to set to my use overall scale of 24. That's my scale factor. Again, we haven't talked very much about scale factors yet, so it's okay if you don't understand where that 24 means. Primary units tab, the last thing on this, for our template, we're going to set them up for an architectural format with a precision of a 16th. Okay, so now I have this one set up. The next steps, setting up the next ones is much easier because I'm just going to hit new, and I'm going to start it. I'm going to copy it from this one right here that I just did, but I'm going to rename it 48. Continue. Now, by copying it from the last one, all my settings that I did on the 24 came in. The only thing we need to change is that 24 to 48 so that my scale factor is correct. Okay, and I'll repeat that again. New, I'm copying it from the last one, and I'm going to call that 96. Continue. Again, all I need to change is my scale factor. Okay, and make one more called full scale. Continue. Again, all I change is my scale factor, and in this case, we're just going to have 1. This would be for a drawing that is 1 inch equals 1 inch. I hit OK. So now I have a 24 scale, which is a ½ inch equals a foot, 48 scale, which is a ¼ inch equals a foot, 96 scale, which is an 1/8 inch equals a foot, full scale, which equals a 1 inch equals 1 inch drawing. Okay, I'm going to close. And the last thing that we're going to format here is going to be on my multi-leader setup. So I am going to be on page 10. I believe it starts on page 9 and then goes into page 10 on my Word document. So on our multi-leader settings, the little arrow in the bottom right corner, we're going to hit new, very similar to the dimension style setup. 24 underscore scale. Okay, so you'll see all these settings listed on your Word document. We have, starting out with our leader format, we're going to change the arrowhead to 0.125. Again, that's an 1/8 inch, and it should match the arrowhead size for the arrows and text size on our dimension styles. Colors by layer. Next tab, our leader structure. So for our maximum points, we want 3, which means when I put my leader in, it's going to be a click, 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 and then my text pops up. I want my second segment angle, which is this little piece right here, to be set to 0. And I'm going to take the automatic landing distance off so that I can choose how long I want that landing. And then my scale factor goes here, 24. Next tab over, we're going to make our text height, you guessed it, 0.125. My text color is white. Okay, so review. Leader format, we set the color to by layer, arrowhead to 0.125 or 1/8. Leader structure is 3 points. Second segment angle is on 0. No landing, and then the scale factor is 24. My content tab, we changed the text color to white and the text height to 0.125. Okay, so now we're going to select the OK. And just like with the dimensions, I'm going to select the one I just built, hit new, rename it, 48 scale. So all I need to change now is my scale factor. All the other settings stayed. So I want 48 there. Do new again, 96. Continue. Change my scale factor on the leader structure tab, 96. Okay. One more new one called full scale. Continue. This will be 1. Okay, so now we have our ½ inch equals a foot, ¼ inch equals a foot, 1/8 inch equals a foot, and 1 inch equals an inch. Close. Okay, so now we have completed the basic formatting tools. There will be more things that we add as we get further into our drawings during the semester, but for today, our focus was layer properties, and we created some basic layers, and we even added a line type to one. And so we'll create more and more layers as the drawings get more complex. And then second, we went to the annotate tab. We formatted our text style, our dimension style, and our multi-leader style. Each one of those should have 24, 48, 96, and full scale now that we've formatted them. So just for an example, if I say to my students, I want you to do a drawing and the scale factor or the scale of the drawing will be a 1/2 inch equals a foot, they would understand they need 24 aerial, 24 scale, and 24 scale. And what that does is it sets all these annotative tools up properly right from the start for the particular drawing that they're in. I'm going to save this. And I called it a CAD template. We did that right from the beginning. Remember, you should always save your file with a drawing name and a location at the very start. So now that we've started a CAD template, for future drawings in class, I would ask my students to start with CAD template, then save that file as whatever the name of the new drawing would be. That concludes our lab for formatting a CAD template. Thank you.